So basically, my presentation will be also kind of a different answer to the last question Alexei had about backporting the features to the previous versions and to be more specific to the LTS. So Alexei already talked a lot about the great features of the 5.0 and also like extremely great features of 5.2 that were waited for a very long time by Zabbix users. And in my presentation, I will try to, let's say, deliver the need to keep up with the latest releases and try to explain that even despite the fact that your current Zabbix version, which might be out of the support for a while, is working fine and it's doing all its job, it is not really a good idea to stick with the not supported versions, and you should definitely consider upgrading. So I don't have so much slides, and basically this will be just sharing of experience and my thoughts. So first of all, just again a recap about a 5.2. It's really right behind the corner. So a couple of weeks, it's already October, and the 5.2 will be released, the stable version, and I believe many let's say technical people, also managers, companies will start to think like perhaps it's time to upgrade, right? And what we can expect in the 5.2, this is not a secret anymore. This is already published information. So new security features, Alexia again talked about them, and security is always a major topic for all the companies that might be using Zabbix as their monitoring solution. Hello to IoT World with Modbus and MQ2T support, which again opens a huge field for the Zabbix as a monitoring software to, let's say, start natively monitor a lot of the sensor devices, industrial equipment, and a lot of the stuff that previously, let's say, it was possible with a Zabbix. Like we love to say, you can monitor anything with a Zabbix, but not with a native functionality. So it causes some human resources to create integration scripts. It was overhead to maintain all of that, especially again if you are doing upgrades between versions and make sure that all of this will be working. So right now it's going to be out of the box. Performance optimizations, this is like always added to every new release of the Zabbix. It might be not heavily advertised in, let's say, what's new page, but there is always going on the work to make Zabbix even better in terms of be capable to process a lot of the hosts, like hundreds, thousands of metrics per second, and so on. Usability improvements, again, some great things in the front end that just will make the life of the people who are working with Zabbix daily, administrators, or perhaps somebody who are focused only on the dashboards or creating the items, watching the problems. Their life is also getting, let's say, easier and better to work with Zabbix on a daily basis. So sounds tempting, right? Just like every new release of the Zabbix, and it's definitely not it. Like if you want to see the full currently published list, you can just go to our documentation. What's new page for the 5.2 is already open, and also again, as it was mentioned previously, join the Zabbix Summit, which will be in the October 30th, where we will definitely talk about all the new features of the Zabbix 5.2. So how often can we expect the new releases? Again, this is nothing new. This is a picture from the official Zabbix webpage, which is there for a long while. But if let's say we have somebody watching this meetup who is with Zabbix not for a very long time, you might be actually surprised, because very often over all the years we have let's say meetups, conferences similar to this, and always we talk about the new great features that will gonna be released in the upcoming release. So thing is that the new major version, I'm not talking about the minor releases, which are basically just contains some fixes. So the new functionality is released in the major releases. So every major release is released roughly after each 6 months, which is it's not that big of a period. So basically, let's say first let's say 5.2.0 will be released, it will take some time for everybody to understand what it has, then to plan the upgrade, perhaps do some testings in the development environments, upgrade your production environment, and then you'll probably already start to see some marketing material about the release of the 5.4 with all the great features it will include in it. And talking about a support, so there's also just mentioned that Zabbix 5.0 will be supported for the next 5 years, and there is a difference about the end of support and end of the limited support, which is also explained here. But basically, the main thing that we need to think is that every 6 months you can expect a new major release of the Zabbix that will include a lot great and very loud features, which will definitely make your monitoring life easier and better. So, what if, many people are attending conferences, meetups like this, and following to all of the news from the Zabbix, and they're super excited about all the new functionality, same security improvements, IoT stuff with Modbus native support. It is great, but I'm 100% sure that even in the audience that we have here, we might have people that are not running Zabbix 5.0, which is current LTS release. There might be people, and there definitely are people who are running 4 dot something, even 3 dot something, and even more like 2 dot something, which is out of the support for a very, very long time. But let's say they're explanation for this is like, yes, we are a big fans of the Zabbix. We love the new features, but we have everything working. So we have set up a monitoring for our infrastructure, our data center. Perhaps we're even delivering monitoring as a service to our customer. Yes, it is, let's say 3.2 version, but everything works. Well, it works, but one day it might not work anymore, right? It is not supported version. A lot of the things are changing. A lot of the related softwares, some libraries, operating systems are getting upgraded, changed, versions are changing. And one day you might get situation when, let's say, worst case scenario, when we would talking not about some independent items to stop working, but let's say your Zabbix crashes, and not because of some sort of misconfigurations or mistakes made in the configuration of the items. But that's it just crashes. You try to restart it, and you do the research, and you found out that yes, it is a known bug, and it was fixed 5 years ago. But the problem is that you're running a Zabbix which is 7 years old. So still, if previously you were thinking it runs absolutely fine, we don't want to take the risk and change our architecture to upgrade to the latest release, you'll still have to do that. So your version is not supported anymore. The bug fix is not included in your old release. You still must perform the upgrade. And at the moment, when let's say your Zabbix is crashing, there will definitely not going to be enough time to do the research and check what sort of new functionality is included in the new versions, what has changed, because some things let's say you had some sort of customization, some API scripts, integrations, whatever else, and you are worried that it's not going to work anymore. Perhaps it's not even needed anymore in a new release. So all of that stuff might be included with the support out of the box. And we have a great example with an IoT. So let's say if you're running some, let's say very old example with a 2.2 or 2.4, and you have very, very heavy integration with the custom scripts to do the Modbus monitoring with your sensors, and you don't want to upgrade it because you're afraid to break all this functionality. Well, you don't need this functionality anymore because it will be covered outside of the box. And of course, also no time for the testing when we are upgrading, doing it as a planned upgrade. We can test everything out in the development environment. We can prepare multiple scenarios, the rollover scenario if something goes wrong, and basically minimize the potential downtime or issues it could cause for us. And so then the choice LTS or the standard release. And LTS is always a first thing to look on for, let's say, companies that are running the Zabbix in production, because it's a 5-year support. You upgrade to the LTS version, you do that like one time, you face all the testing and development test upgrades, and you, let's say, adopt all of your potential customizations that you still want to run to the new version, and you're basically covered for the 5 years. But Zabbix doesn't stop his work after the release of the LTS. So 6 months passes. Just we have the same situation now. The 5.0 was just released, and right now we plan to release 5.2, which again will have extremely great functionality. And then there's like a decision. All right, so we are running on a 5.0, which has a long-term support. It has a great functionality, but we need that stuff from the 5.2. We need that security, that HashiCorp vault or IoT support or whatever else that will be included. And then there's always decision like to stay with the 5.0 and wait for the release, in this case 6.0, after at this moment after a year, or do the upgrade to the 5.2. But the thing with the 5.2 is that 6 months after this release, we can expect the 5.4, and at that moment, the 5.2 will basically lose its support. But on the other hand, so when you're upgrading the Zabbix, let's say you have a 2.4 release and you want to upgrade to 5.0, you don't need to go all the step like 3.0, 3.2, 3.4, and so on. It's a straight upgrade from 2. Something to 5.0, automated upgrade, no need for some complicated upgrade scripts or whatever else. But still, the information and amount of the stuff that has changed in between of these versions 2 and 5, it's huge. And it will be a lot easier to do the upgrades. Let's say if you are not chasing the new functionality, then at least do the upgrades in terms of LTS versions. So if you are running 3.0, 5.0 is released, don't hesitate, do the upgrade to 5.0. If you're hunting the new features and you desperately need them, then I would really suggest to always keep up with the latest release of the Zabbix. So 5.2 will be released, plan the upgrade, do the upgrade. 5.4 released again, do the upgrade and enjoy all the new functionality. So it's not easy to keep up with all the versions Zabbix is releasing, and the reasons why people and companies choose not to upgrade and stay is usually they are the same. And I also covered a bit of them in the previous slides. So we had a lot of customization and afraid that it will stop working, because if we would talk about a Zabbix in, let's say 3.0, when we already introduced a new front end and also a lot of great functionality, including the encryption, still a lot of things were tied with custom scripts. Like if you wanted to do the integration with some ticketing systems because you want to automatically create the tickets for your NOC team, it was a custom script created by somebody on some different languages, so which again creates a lot of dependencies, which is hard to manage. Or you want to avoid the downtime of your monitoring system. So yes, you agree that the new release is awesome and you do want all of this functionality, but sadly you are tied with some agreements with your customers to whom you are delivering the monitoring service, and you simply cannot afford the downtime which will be caused by the upgrade procedure, or hard to get accept from the management, which I believe is also very common. Because if we would talk from the perspective of a technical guy like the Zabbix administrator, I believe that these persons would love to upgrade to the new releases as soon as it is released. Yes, maybe get some challenges in terms of the upgrade and adaptation process, but they're always ready. But from the management side, it is always a risk of something new that might cause some problems. But that, don't forget about the things that I was talking in the previous slides, that it might be okay today, but tomorrow it might cause a lot of the problems with your not supported version. Current version has proved that it's stable. So current existing version that you have, let's say the same 3.0, which you're running for years and no problem, so you don't want to risk. So you have many customizations. That's cool. We all had a lot of those customizations. We had a lot of alert scripts, again, written by the community. Um, and the thing is, like, most of them were, just like I said, written by the community, published in a GitHub. Let's say it was released in the version 3.0, but then the creator of this alert script stopped to maintain it. And you upgrade to 3.2, 3.4, and you see that the last commit in a GitHub was 4 years ago. So there's really huge chance that this alert script will not going to be working anymore with the new release or with the new operating system, which you also might run. So things are changing and some of your customizations might not be needed anymore. Like some examples, going very deep in the past of the Zabbix. I actually did not know that myself. In one of the trainings, one of the students told me this. So the low-level discovery, which is, I really believe it's a core functionality in the Zabbix. It's hard to imagine how it would be to monitor currently all of your environments without a low-level discovery. So manually creating all the items. It was added only in the Zabbix version 2.0, but it's not like the users before 2.0 would manually create all of the, let's say, thousands of the items for some sort of SNMP network devices that they want to monitor. There was always some different like life hack or workaround, and I, as I was told, the common thing was to use again custom scripts that were doing the discovery on the devices or on some hosts to which they were pointed, and automatically, as a result of that custom script, create a templates that had those hundreds and thousands of the items, and then you could import this template in your Zabbix frontend. But it's a past for a long time now. Like since the low level discovery was released, you don't need to do any of that. You just create a low level discovery, and right now in the since the 5.0, you can even add some overrides and treat differently, let's say, some discovered entities and define different severities, different thresholds, and so on. So it's much more convenient. The pre-processing was introduced only in the Zabbix 3.4, and it's not like people did not monitor some JSON output or XML documents or some API responses before the release of the pre-processing. Everybody still did that, but mostly, again, it was tied with the custom scripts, a lot of user parameters, a lot of data processing outside of the core of the Zabbix with, again, some sort of customization. Right now, if somebody started to work with a Zabbix since 3.4, he will not even think about those possibilities that somebody may did that before the release of the pre-processing. So everything became native. Right now, if you need to do some customization and processing of the data, you just create an item, add multiple pre-processing steps, process the XML with the XPath or JSON with the JSON pad, add a regular expression pre-processing or some JavaScript, again, to aggregate or process the data, and that's it. You get a desired result inside a Zabbix without any third-party tools or the scripts. The webhooks, no need for alert scripts anymore. They're still here, like you may have some, let's say, not a standard cases when you really need to create your own alert script because the functionality that you need, it's not for everybody. It's only for you. But for general purposes, creating a tickets in the ticketing system, we have a webhooks now. And we do develop a new webhooks with each version. The integration team, again, doesn't stop their work. And if you just check time from time, at this point, I'm not sure about the number. I guess it's around 10 plus officially created, officially supported webhooks, and you don't need to worry about any dependencies, libraries, whatever else. It's just like a template. Just import it inside your front end, fill in a couple of parameters like the authentication tokens for your ticketing system or notification platform, and that's it. You're good to go. So downtime is not an option. That's absolutely understandable, but don't think that upgrade will always cause a huge downtime. I will just, without going into technical details. So here is an example how you can perform an upgrade with a minimal downtime of your system. So clone your existing instance, and you might not even have to if you're running some sort of high availability setup, or let's say a dev environment, which is just clone of your production instance. You already have it. So move all the traffic to the clone, You can do that outside of the Zabbix. Just change the DNS names in your architecture, and you're good. Upgrade the production instance, and the traffic is still collected. All the metrics are still collected in your current clone. Then move the traffic back to the production. So again, do the play with the DNS, and then merge the history from the clone to the production. So if those are actual clones, then database configuration data will be identical. Item IDs will be same from the production environment and the development environment. So there is not a problem to take those 5 history tables and 2 trends tables and simply move the data from previous clone to current production, and taking like average times needed to upgrade, let's say couple of hours, okay, maybe one full day, then moving the history for, in a worst case scenario, for 8 hours will take you like couple of minutes, and then the downtime, well, it could be like 1 second. So it depends on the conditions of the queries that you write when you want to export and import the history based on the Unix time. So it's up to 1 second. Not sure how to upgrade. Understandable. Like the upgrade is straightforward, and we do have upgrade notes. We do have upgrade instructions in the documentation. But again, it might be easier to decide that yes, I will upgrade my production instance that has server front end database on one single machine, and it is monitoring 200 hosts. Not a big deal. If we have a high availability setup with a 3-node cluster per Zabbix server across data center replication architecture, then it might sound like a bit scary. And what to do? First of all, you can always attend the webinars in which one of the topics is also how to upgrade to the new release of the Zabbix. There are a lot of the blog posts in Zabbix official blog webpage, and also from our partners, where you can read some experience of other companies, smaller and bigger, with simpler and more complicated architecture, how to do the upgrade, how to avoid all the potential issues. Community feedback, like there's a lot of community interaction going on about Zabbix, Reddit forums, Twitter, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Telegram chats. You can always ask for some help or some feedback, some suggestions how to avoid trouble when you're doing the upgrade. Videos, there's still a lot of them, and other stuff like, I don't know, as example, if you want to do the upgrade, but you don't want to risk, you don't want to take a risk and do it by your own, you can always get it as a commercial service. So get the upgrade done by the experts, following all the best practices, documented, considering all of the potential customizations that you have, what you may still need in a new version, and what can be replaced with a native functionality. Is it easy to upgrade? So just like again mentioned previously, upgrade directly to your desired version. If you're very far behind running 2 dot something and you are afraid for that heavy path to upgrade 2.4, 3.0, 3.2, 3.4, 4.0, and so on, don't worry about that. So it's straight upgrade to the current release that you want to upgrade to. Agents are backwards compatible, which again might be very important consideration why we don't want to upgrade, because we have hundreds of thousands of the agents, and a lot of them are deployed in the customer environments to which we don't have a direct access, and it will take like years to upgrade all of those. You don't need to. Agents are backwards compatible with a Zabbix server. Even if you're running somewhere 2 dot something Zabbix agent, those will function with a 5.0 or 5.2 Zabbix server. What about the Zabbix proxies? So proxy, major component of the Zabbix, very often installed in customer setups or some DMZ zones or some branches, just to make sure that we are covered if there is a bad internet connection and we don't want to lose the data. And not really a problem if we have 1, 2, or 3 proxies, but we might have hundreds or thousands of the proxies. Proxies are not backwards compatible. Proxy must have same major version as the Zabbix server, but let's say not official and not documented, and more like a life hack with the proxies. And I'm not saying that this 100% works between all the versions. But usually, if let's say you will upgrade your Zabbix server to the new release 5.2 and your proxies are still 5.0, most likely they will still deliver the history to the Zabbix server. So the problem could arise when they're trying to update their configuration. So as long as you upgraded your Zabbix server and you are not adding a new items, new hosts to be monitored by that proxy, most likely it will still deliver all the data about existing configuration. But again, don't rely on this like on 100%. If you're doing the upgrade and are planning to use this hack to postpone the upgrade of the proxies to, let's say, next day, then better test it out in the development. Most important, read the upgrade notes, because we have a new features, but sometimes something is getting changed also in the existing functionality. And it's better to be aware of what you can expect rather than be surprised after. One thing is in my mind: when we reworked the actions, it was written in the upgrade notes that some actions with the conditions might become disabled after the upgrade, and you need to check them, make sure that all the conditions and operations are actually fine, and then enable them back. So it's better to know that before the upgrade rather than hear it after a month from some other team that will say, hey, I'm not receiving notifications, please check. Delaying upgrades is not a good idea. So not only the Zabbix versions are getting out of the support, also server operating system lifecycle, software lifecycle like Apache, PHP, security concerns. If you are still running a CentOS 6 with some very old PHP versions and Apache as a web engines, there's definitely a lot of already known security violations that might be dangerous for your environment. And it's really better to upgrade. But if, again, you are doing the upgrade from the worst case 2 dot something, or maybe even worse 1 dot something, to the new release, it's not going to be only about a Zabbix. Most likely you will also have to upgrade database. Most likely you will have to upgrade operating system, PHP, same web engine versions, a lot of the libraries that might be tied to your integrations. And that's why it is better to keep up with the new versions. And then, yes, you still have to upgrade, but it's much less effort to do that rather than completely upgrading your servers, including all the operating systems. And employee qualification, like your current employees that, let's say, might be working with you for a lot of the years and working with a Zabbix since 1 dot something. And if you want to hire somebody new, you can find, let's say, a Zabbix expert, the very smart guy who has passed all the Zabbix training courses, the specialist professional expert course, and he's qualified expert for the 4.0. And then you introduce him to your Zabbix 1.8 version. So it will be really painful and challenging for him to do something on this installation. Of course, like many of the things remain the same, but still, it would be absolutely new system for him. Thank you. I guess that's it that I wanted to say. And if you have some sort of the questions, then of course you're free to ask them. But main thing, I really hope that you will at least try to stick with the recent release of the Zabbix and not delay everything so far that it's really becomes a challenge to do the upgrade. Right. So, any questions?
Thank you, Dmitry. There were a few questions, but you have answered them during your presentation, so there are no other ones.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, so we thank you for joining us at the first Czech meetup, and have a nice day. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.